small distance.
Well, we do see Moonan going for that gold right now with the command center, most likely going to be a planetary fortress. And that can be hard to take out. He's going to have to use his Mutalisks for that with a couple turrets up. And pure Zerglings, he's not really going to be able to bust through that quite yet. This is a nice contain from Moonan, too.
So, I'm confused. Does Moonan know that Ravens exist? Because I was sworn that he would have built one before switching out for a reactor. But he is almost completely neglecting that tech. And by almost completely, I mean he is completely neglecting that tech. And he is in a strong position right here, but I
mean, I think it's kind of like what Ascend said. When Terrans play this way, they really... I mean, this is why you don't see Marauders as much in TVZ anymore. They really like to devote all of their gas to siege tanks, and Thor's, you know, kind of as their little anti-air, like their little deterrent for Mutas picking off siege tanks.
Slush is 50 units ahead, 50 psi ahead right now.
Yep, he needs to be very careful, though. He's got a lot of Zerglings all in his natural, needs to be able to engage from all around. I would like to see him go from the high ground. I think his Lings would be able to get in position there.
Do you think Slush is going to try to pick off this third with these Banelings? I see a whole bunch of Banelings morphing in next.
Oh, he is just going to slam it against that.
And here he goes.
From the general side, he can get SCVs.
Oh, man.
Oh, man, he's
there's
one Baneling short, but it's going to burn. No, it's not going to burn.
Nope, repaired.
Yep.
Because Terran, meanwhile, in the outside the natural, we see a bunch of siege tanks. We have 6 siege tanks there spread out very nicely, a Thor and a lot of Marines. Slush trying to dart in with those Mutas, trying to pick off a few tanks. And here he goes. Here's the major battle. Lings coming out, surrounding the tanks, and the Thor is doing a lot of damage. Moonan spreading out those Marines a lot, negating those Banelings, and it looks like he is going to hold this. 3 tanks still alive, and all the Mutas go down.
I would really like to see from Moonan here. I'm sorry, I think I'm cutting Kyle off. I really would have liked to have seen some bunkers and turrets go up there. I think you could have done that push a lot more patiently, instead of kind of rushing in like you just did there.
Oh, but beautiful Banelings right there. Able to kill off most of that force, and the reinforcing Lings going to be able to pick off the reinforcements that Moonan sent. And now taking down that tank, and all that's left is 3 Marines desperately trying to hold off against a swarm of Zerglings, although they're doing it really, really well with those medevacs.
Yeah, those Banelings and Lings going out as those tanks were still sieging up just saved him the game.
It really hurts not picking off that planetary fortress. He was 1 Baneling short, and it's just this gold. He's gotten so much out of this gold now that he would not have gotten. He would have had to wait, at least wait to have gotten. That I feel like 1 Baneling could have really have thrown this hugely in Slush's favor. Now he's really easily. I mean, the main is mined out. He's going to really easily just be able to macro up and stay in this game. And if he'd have taken that out, I feel like this game would be like right in the palm of Slush's hands. And instead, it's kind of a dogfight at the moment.
Destiny, you going to talk about this drop that's about to happen in the main?
No, not really. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry.
It's not important. It was deflected.
Also missing this drop at the 4th base that just went up for Slush. A bunch of Marines taking out a bunch of drones there. Actually might work down this hatchery. Half-life right now. As Slush tries to get there with his Lurglings. And it's going to be very close. And he does get it, fortunately. So Slush gonna have to go back. Drops happen all over the place. Fake dropship here with 1 Marine pretty much. 1 going in, or 1 Marine darting into the natural just to scout out. And drop going on in the 3rd base, which does get taken down by those Mutalisks full of Marines.
Yeah, this drop in the 3rd didn't do anything as the Queen actually managed to pick off that medevac. And Slush right now is pretty far behind economically, only because he doesn't have a 4th. You never want to be on equal basis with the Terran, but he's still up on Harvesters. He just needs to rebuild that really quick. He's floating a lot of money and a lot of gas. He's about 2,000 on both. So I don't know if he's just short on larva, not using one of his hatcheries. I'm not sure what's going on that he doesn't actually have that.
Yeah, I feel like
supply up.
I feel like Slush's creep spread right now is really lacking, and I feel like that's a result of how the early game went, and I think that's really going to hurt him when this push comes, because he can just he's just pushing right up to the natural, doesn't even have to worry about creep at all, doesn't have to drop a scan. I mean, if you were to just... This attack just doesn't look like... he's got too many tanks right here. We've got about 8 tanks, and this is just, it's going to be really hard to take this out.
Here he goes, though, running in with a bunch of Lings and Banelings. Muta's actually catching the tanks, missing that that Marine defense. But here we go, losing a bunch of Mutas, these stimmed up Marines. Those Marines are 2-2, doing a shit ton of damage. Slush is actually trying to get the gold base up, as well as the 2 bases at the 3 o'clock. But Moonan still pushing in with these tanks, has 1 left. Also reinforcing with the Thor and a bunch of Marines. Taking a look at the army tab real quick, it is 117 supply for Moonan, actually ahead, almost 20 supply from Slush. But here again, Slush with a ton of Zerglings, cleaning up this attack very, very closely. Taking down that tank as Moonan continuing to stream in Marines here.
Yeah, right now, Slush is actually losing a lot of these queens, not doing spawn larva, so he's actually really short on larva, trying to get all those bases up. Just trying to make up for that.
I don't know, it feels a little backwards right now that we're seeing so much pressure from Moonan, and yet he is not expanding. Slush is the one expanding, and he's just gotten pretty much 3 hatcheries up that really should have never gotten up. I mean, this one in the gold is probably going to go down, but he's starting to look low on minerals. His natural is running low. His gold is running low. He really needs to get another base up, and I feel like he's starting to get a little preoccupied.
Yeah, he has the 4th command center actually at the gold, but just now lifting it up. It's been sitting there for quite a while.
Yep, looks like that gold base from Slush will go down to that Thor. I would actually like to see some more Infestor play. He's almost floating. Was at 3k gas before, still at 2500. Really low on minerals, though. I think some clutch fungal growths on these Marines would allow the Banelings to be much more cost effective, and possibly neural power setting those Thors to take out those tanks would be really good in this position, as we see Moonan going after those macro hatches in the natural, splitting the army up of Slush. So he's got 3 bases on the right and 2 on the left here. But here comes the Lings and Banelings again, and it looks like he's actually going to be able to hold this, but taking a lot of damage to his Mutalisks, and not actually even be able to take out the Thor just yet. There goes the Thor, and those Mutalisks going to be able to pick off a bunch of medevacs for free as more Marines continue to stream in, as well as 2 more tanks from Moonan. So Moonan's continuing to rally. Does have that 4th base up at the top left-hand corner, though. So this push is going to be even stronger, but just continuing this really stiff tempo play.
Slush right now is going to lose both of these bases, it looks like. He wasted a lot of those Banelings actually ramming them against the tanks, so the Marines just enough to actually clean this up. A lot of Zerglings are coming out and will clean up the rest of this. He's going for Hive Tech as well, so we could see Broodlords pretty soon.
I don't know, this is starting to look like the beginning of the end, maybe. I feel like as long as Moonan's macro doesn't slip, just losing all that production. He's floating a lot of minerals and he's floating a lot of gas, but I don't think that he can continue if he loses all of his main right now and he loses all of his tech. I feel like Moonan is definitely starting to control this game a little bit. He's been the aggressor the entire game. I don't feel like that's going to change anytime soon.
Well, if you were watching, he actually had a bunch of units just rallied across the map, and Slush got a bunch of free kills there. So Moonan just wasting a lot of his units there.
Yeah.
And Slush is starting to catch up, and I think if he can get Broodlords out and get a decent enough army to actually support it, he is getting that Greater Spire, 6 Corruptors right now, Adrenal Glands. I mean, I think if he just holds on, he can probably do this. His Zerglings are 2-2 right now.
Yeah, he's just holding on. That's all he's done all game.
Now, luckily, Moonan's not really pressing his advantage. We see that he's almost mined out in the gold. His natural is looking very, very sparse. So again, going to be up to almost pretty much 1 base as he takes that top left. Whereas Slush actually has all those 3 right bases. Going to be on 3 base versus almost 1 base. So possibly able to do it after he takes up. We see that Greater Spire about 3/4 of the way done. But here we go. Moonan going to go for a drop on that 3 o'clock position. Not a lot there to help defend it. So if he can get enough drone kills, he can definitely get back in this game. But here comes some Banelings. Does have Blue Flame Hellions, though.
At the same time, he was doing a drop on the 6 o'clock, but that did end up failing. That Hellion just tearing through drones right now. Zerglings all going down to that Hellion, but it only gets 4 kills, so not that much damage. Now Moonan coming up with the brunt of his force right through the middle of the road.
Yeah, here the Broodlords are morphing, but they're morphing so far away right now that it looks like he could lose his main here. he's really banking a lot on these Broodlords. He doesn't have any. He doesn't have any Banelings. He doesn't have any Mutalisks. This is just. He's going to have to give up his main right now. He's going to have to just these Broodlings. I mean, these Zerglings here are just going to be Marine fodder at this point.
Yep, and here goes MoOnAN pushing into the main. We see that MoOnAN really abusing him for relying so heavily on Lings. He's got a bunch of Blue Flame Hellions now mixed in with this army. About to take down the Greater Spire. Greater Spire does go down, now working on the Hive as more Lings clock out. But we got a huge army back here for Slush. Does have a decent number of Banelings and Zerglings as we see 7 Broodlords come in here.
Yeah, MoOnAN's actually doing this perfectly since he is going into Viking production. He was actually getting a Fusion Core, so it looks like he may even go for Battle Cruisers here. I mean, he is just slowly pushing and slowly working down Slush. I don't know if he is going to be able to hold down, especially now that he's losing all of his tech buildings. He lost his Hive, he lost the Greater Spire, so pretty much what he has is all he gets.
Yeah, another drop here in the second main up at the top right. I mean, these Broodlords are his best bet, but they're not mobile enough to defend at this point in time.
Yep, his only salvation right now is that MoOnAN is now officially on one base, trying to get the very 12 o'clock base running. We see that he has almost all of his SCVs at that top left base. He is at 59 Harvesters, and I think every single one of them is at that base.
Well, here goes Slush's attack. He's moving the 7 Broodlords up. He has a lot of Lings, but he actually doesn't have anything right now to defend the Broodlords. So these Vikings are just going to take him down. He needs Corruptors in this. But too late for that.
Hellions just... Blue Flame Pre-Igniter Hellions just melting that army, and there it is. There's a good game. Too bad. I mean, he came back from a lot. I felt like that Turax did a lot of damage. It delayed that expansion forever, and he just... I mean, really in that game, he just held on. That's all he ever did was hold on, and he did an amazing job holding on, but he just never was able to mount a counterattack. I mean, the closest thing he got was just suiciding all those